So the question I pulled yesterday was, why do I feel disconnected from what I want? And kind of the subtitle of addressing the inner conflict that high performers feel when, outwardly, oh my gosh, you have everything you could possibly want. Inwardly, you're like, yeah, but I don't really want it. It's not really what I'm looking for. So that's what we're gonna talk about today. First and foremost, and mind you, I actually wrote notes. The spontaneous generator and me actually put some notes together. So if I tend to look off camera, it's because I'm just referencing the ideas that kind of came flooding when this question surfaced. So, why do I feel disconnected from what I want? Well, first and foremost, 99.9% of the time when that is happening, it's because you're operating through borrowed frequency. There are 147,000 different ways to discuss what borrowed frequency is, but think of it as the simplest terms, the most convenient definition is that it is the frequency connected to your openness that your mind is trying to make sense of that says, this is what I am not, therefore I have to go find it. And it's operating from the frequency of who you think you need or should be in order to find the success you want. So think about that. If you're feeling disconnected from the success you found, it's likely because you found that success through a borrowed frequency. So therein lies one of the conundrums of life is, yeah, sure, you can go find success through your borrowed frequency. It's not necessarily always going to be doom and gloom, but you'll likely get to a point where it's like, yeah, but this isn't really what I wanted. And because of that, when you look at performance through the lens of borrowed frequency, it will never be truly genuine. And I'll be so bold as to say never. It will never be truly genuine. It will never be truly fulfilling. It will fill a void financially, you know, but all the other voids will exist in terms of, I don't really feel fulfilled. This doesn't really feel like my purpose. I feel like I'm made for more. I mean, yeah, I'm doing things and I'm having success, but it just doesn't feel like me. I feel frustrated, bitter, angry, disappointed in these results, in my behavior, in, how I show up in the world. Yet I should feel okay and I should feel grateful and I should feel happy because I'm successful. All that shoulding all over yourself simply because you found success through borrowed frequency. And again, performance will never feel genuine, feel fulfilling when that's the case. So then, kind of taking it to the next level is that another reason why you might feel disconnected from the success that you have or not completely fulfilled because of that success is because your mind is limiting. So, when you think about the mechanics of a borrowed frequency, again, the mechanics of your borrowed frequency are tied to the open parts of your chart. So think of it this way. I've mentioned a couple of times before, I have an open head. I have an open head center, an open G center, which is for identity, love, and direction, or it's connected to that energy. I have an completely open ego, which is tied to willpower, commitment, competition, proving self-worth, those sorts of things, and an open emotional center, the center connected to passion, desires, needs, and wants. I also have two bridging gates. I'm a simple split. So gate 16, the gate of skills, and gate 20, the gate of contemplation, the gate of busyness, the gate of being in the now. My mind, think of, your open spaces like that as receptors. So my mind is linking to those open centers and it's linked to that openness and it creates the borrowed frequency through that connection. So for instance, for me specifically with gate 16 and gate 20, my mind is connected to, well, you need to be busy building skills Then let's go to my ego center to prove that you're talented and charismatic, that you can find direction in this life, find love from other people. But oh, by the way, if you're busy building skills, you're not pissing anybody off or addressing confrontation that might go against that, and dealing with the emotions of others. Oh, and if you're busy building skills, then you can find all of the answers that other people are looking for that you think are important in your life, right? That's who my borrowed frequency believes I'm not. And that is what is constantly trying to override my natural frequency or my true frequency, which is to be a spontaneous responder and just kind of feel good in the moment and then move on from that. Also, in that kind of limited space of your mind being connected to your borrowed frequency, your mind is also connected to what it sees around you. Your mind is a comparison center, a processing center. It is not an origination center. Let's be honest, most inspiration actually isn't original. We're always getting ideas from other sources, which is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But in the moments when we're out, let's say on social media and we're constantly doom scrolling or we're looking at things and we say, oh, that person has what I want, right? Your mind gets connected to that outcome, to that thing, to that financial goal, to that client number goal, to that success goal, whatever that looks like. And your mind is thinking, oh, that looks like fun. That seems fulfilling for that person. So that's what I want. What I want to go after, right? Your mind is limiting in that space because when it comes to your true frequency, you actually can't know what is correct for you until you're in it, until your body is responding to what is going on around you. Your mind cannot know what is correct for you. I would venture to guess I'm going to get a lot of slack for that because we are mind-driven people. No one wants to believe they're not in control of their life or that, kind of letting life show you the way is a bullshit way of doing it, is a cop-out way of doing it, is a soft or unconventional way of doing it, or a woo way of doing it. Well, it's actually worked out for a lot of people. And maybe there's some merit to it. The other thing is that your mind can't know what's limiting, or your mind can't know what's correct for you. So what if it's actually limiting you? What if you're actually truly made for more? You feel this urge inside of you to accomplish more, but your mind is like, no, stay here because if you try this, then you can go after that goal. That's the goal you want. You want $15,000 a month in your business. Well, what if your true frequency is aligned to making $30,000 a month? What if your true frequency is aligned to making even more than that? Or what if your true frequency is aligned to making less than that? Let's say it's $10,000 to $12,000, but you feel so incredibly lit up inside, making that kind of money, doing the work that lights your soul. We're so consumed with this outward vision of what success looks like, and we're terrified to say, hey, maybe I don't necessarily want that level of success that you say you have, or maybe I want a whole hell of a lot more. Your mind is limiting and it can only observe. It can only look out into the expansiveness and say, okay, yeah, I'm going to process the information that's coming in. But beyond that, your mind's role in your life is not here to make decisions. It's not here to say, this is what I want. This is what I think I need to have. But that's how we've been conditioned. And again, I'm going to get a lot of slack for that. I can guarantee some bros out there on the internet are going to call me all sorts of names for saying that sort of thing. But you know what? Don't really care. It's not my responsibility to make them feel secure about what I say. And if any part of what I say leads them to feel uncomfortable, well, then maybe they should dig in a little bit further and figure that shit out for themselves. Let's take this to specifics of human design. So when we talk about that the mind is limiting, right? It can't actually know what is correct for you. So when you think about it from the lens of your type, so using generators as an example, generators are here to respond. They are, this includes manifesting generators. They are here to be surprised by what comes into their life and what their sacral and any other part of their authority, if they're emotional, says, oh, hell yes, this is what you are here to light up to do. Generation, generators and manifesting generators, we're builders. We are here to be lit up by the work that we do, to be completely satisfied and immersed in the energy we put out into the world. And so there may be some things in this world that we are absolutely completely surprised by that may bring us less money than we think we want or more money than we think we want. But really what we are after is that deep satisfaction in what we do. But here's the thing. The more satisfied a generator is, the more magnetic they are. So in some ways, it can be counterintuitive to set really specific goals. Now, it gives you something to align to really kind of work towards. But the more satisfied you are, the more magnetic you are as a generator, manifesting generator, and you have no idea what can come to you when you are truly lit up and satisfied. Now, I'll take that to a projector. When a projector is, working out of alignment, they are very bitter. They're very resentful. They are here to achieve success, but success for them is really through another. Projectors are here to learn about themselves by interacting and directing the energy of others. So think about it from that perspective in terms of, hi, Melissa. Learning through the other, like, how can your mind possibly know what can bring success when you are here and part of your overall general purpose? Let's put our incarnation crosses aside. When your overall general purpose is to guide the energy of others, you find success through others, and that you have, as a projector, have to make a conscious decision of whose energy to really borrow and work with in order to find that success. So how can your mind create that stipulation expectations before you actually meet someone and start interacting with their energy? Same goes with the manifester, right? Manifestors are here to impact and initiate, but it's not that they can go out and or they're not, they can do whatever they want. But in order to be truly correct, it's not to initiate anything, any whim that they have. The initiation comes through their authority. So whether they're an ego manifesting generator, oh, I have the willpower to do this, or they're a splenic generator, oh, yep, I have the intuition tells me, yes, this is something that I can go initiate. And when they work through their authority versus just initiate what their mind thinks they should or thinks what will get them what they want, that's when things fall apart for them. It's all about following the authority, because when they follow that authority and initiate from that space, that's when they make true impact. That's when they have the biggest impact. And they will likely see way more impact because they followed their authority versus what their mind thought they should. And then finally, reflectors, right? Reflectors, funny enough, I run into so many reflectors. And when I say so many, I mean like a good 5 or 6 of them. When they make up 1% of the population, now great. Granted, that is a large number of people, but to, in the last 4 years to have met 5 or 6 of them, yeah, that's pretty cool, right? As that they are starting to wake up. They are, when they are operating from their energy, it's all about surprise. The surprise of what's going on in the environment, like what's working, what isn't. And when they're following their mind or their borrowed frequency, it's all about disappointment. It's more about disappointment that they're getting sucked into and identifying with the energy of others. when really their openness is their beauty. It's their opportunity to really truly feel what is going on in the environment and being surprised at what's working and what isn't, and being surprised by others seeing their ability to tell us, oh, your baby's ugly. What can we do to fix it? Right. So when I say that the mind is limiting, that's what it truly does. It creates this comparison that we've got to go out and find the same success as somebody else, when really as generators, we're here to be satisfied. Doesn't matter how much money that brings in. Now, obviously, we want a living wage in whatever we're doing. For projectors, that's finding success. For manifestors, that's finding impact and initiating in order to get there. And for reflectors, that's finding surprise in terms of, how best to direct the environment. But all of that cannot be figured out before it's actually presented to any type. And that's when I say that the mind is limiting. And that's what really starts to affect our performance and keeps us from truly feeling fulfilled and satisfied, surprised, peaceful, or successful in what we're doing. Another reason why you might feel disconnected from the success that you have is that you've evolved. You've changed, you've outgrown, and particularly for women in their 40s and 50s, the subset of the population that I serve is that, talk to any 40-some-year-old woman or someone who is um, getting close to 40. It's like, yeah, what I thought I wanted is really not what's important anymore, right? We kind of get to this, like 40 is this very significant and monumental kind of shift in life. You often see out there online is like, I don't necessarily give an F anymore. While that is somewhat true, right? Kind of evolving out of the need to prove or the need for external validation. Oftentimes when we reach kind of this next level in our life, it's kind of like what I thought I wanted isn't what I wanted. And that actually came for me when I was probably in my mid 30s. So for anybody who knows anything about my story, my whole professional career was in human resources. I graduated with a political science degree, and then I got my master's in human resources, and I spent nearly 15 years in that space. And by the time I left corporate America, I had reached director level. I was, great. That's what I always thought I wanted, to get to the director level or even VP, maybe CHRO at one point, and really kind of be the head of the department, setting the strategy, doing all the fun, strategic things. And when I got to the director role, I was like, oh my God, this is not at all what I want. At the time, I was in a really bad spot myself. Talk about operating from a borrowed frequency. Good God in heaven, I was operating from the borrowingness of borrowed frequency. And I remember sitting in my desk being like, this is not at all what I want. This is not fulfilling to me, to be the head of a department, to lead others. Now, while I love to support and kind of lift others as they're going through their journey, I truly genuinely hated being a leader. And when I learned my true frequency, now a lot of what's in my chart is to kind of be the background, is to be the wing woman. My incarnation cross is the cross of service. And that I'm here to really support the transformation of others and receive support in return, but really kind of lift them as they go. And that's not to say that I couldn't do that in a leadership role, but what I really, really enjoy is being kind of behind the scenes, being the person who's like, hey, let's just kind of come over here in the corner. Let's figuring out kind of what goes on. Let's uncover the patterns. And then let's put you back out into the world in order to see what you're capable of. And oftentimes as a leader, it's hard to play that role because it's, all the focus is on you and you need to have all the answers and everybody's looking to you to lead into the way. And that's just not necessarily a natural way that I lead. And it's not to say that I couldn't be a leader. Now that I understand my true frequency, I could absolutely kind of reposition how I would approach that role. But I also recognize it's not what I want. That's not necessarily what brings me satisfaction. And while again, it paid really well, I felt so incredibly disconnected from that role, from the expectations of that role, um, and just kind of learning and seeing for myself of all the things I thought I wanted from my early 20s into my mid to late 30s was not at all what I wanted. And so oftentimes, right, we have to be in the situation, we have to get to where we think we want to go in order to realize it's not for us at all. Again, comes back to the borrowed frequency and our mind trying to write the script of what we think we want when really our true frequency is here to be something completely different, probably something extremely surprising to what we thought we needed to be. Because I spent my 20s, well, I spent my teens through my late 30s trying to prove that I was number one, trying to prove that I was the best, trying to prove that I was the most talented and charismatic person out there who could find a direction, not piss anybody off, and answer all the questions. When really I love to be behind the scenes. I love to be like the benevolent Wizard of Oz. Like, let me just kind of, whisper into your ear in terms of things you might try to do and allow you to look like, put you in the spotlight, let you shine in all your glory and give you all of the accolades and recognition, because for me the recognition is just watching you move to the next level to shine. Like I don't necessarily need the out in the spotlight recognition, but that's what I thought I wanted for a good 38 years of my life. So it's always about coming back to our true frequency and really figuring out who is it that we're here to be, because that will bring us the satisfaction if we're a generator, manifesting generator. That will bring us the success if we're a projector. That will bring us a surprise if we're a reflector. That will bring us peace if we're the manifester. Okay, so we've gone through 3 reasons why you might feel disconnected from your success. Broad frequency, your mind is in control and limiting you, and you've evolved and outgrown what you thought you wanted once you got there. So, how do you start shifting away from your borrowed frequency and into your true frequency to really optimize your performance? First and foremost, if you don't know your human design, reach out. I would love to do just kind of a baseline. Here's who you are. Here's what this kind of means. A 30-minute quick conversation. No, that's not necessarily going to really create the shift immediately, but it starts planting the seeds for who you are and kind of how that shows up and what might be getting in your way. 2, if you do know your human design and you are dangerous with some of the information, start to take an audit of your life. So for generators and manifesting generators, like take some of the big chunks of your life. Where do you feel satisfied? Like list out the things that you're doing, the things that you're working on, whatever the case may be. List those out and then simply say satisfied or frustrated. Right? Just start to take an audit and say, like, where does that come out? If you're a projector, do the same thing, but then say successful, bitter. If you're a reflector, surprised or disappointed. And if you're a manifester, angry or peaceful. And just start to make a visual for yourself and just start to analyze where in your life is your performance on point, satisfaction, surprise, peace, success, and where's your performance falling off, not reaching the level that you want. For a generator, that could be frustration. For a projector, that's bitterness or resentment. For a reflector, that's disappointment. And for a manifester, that's anger, right? So just start to take an audit. Another thing you can do is actually get the perspective of your trusted inner circle. So reach out to the people that you're really close to in your network, whether that's a husband, wife, partner, girlfriend, boyfriend, a best friend, maybe a mentor or a boss if you have a really great relationship, and get their perspective of where they see, where you really light up and where you don't, right? There could be an indication. We always take feedback with a grain of salt because it's coming from their perspective, but sometimes that outer perspective can be really useful because there might be some areas of your life where you're really surprised that others see that you're really satisfied. You may not necessarily see that all the time, or maybe your energy kind of presents differently in the areas where you are satisfied or successful or surprised or peaceful, and where you're frustrated, disappointed, bitter, or angry, depending on what your type is. So it really does help to have a baseline understanding of your human design so that you can do this audit or ask the right questions of your network. And it could be something simple as, hey, best friend, what are some of the areas that you've seen me, let's say you're a generator, a manifesting generator, where are the areas that you've seen me most satisfied in my life? Is there a specific example where you kind of felt my energy was on fire? Because that's what happens with generators and manifesting generators, is that our energy is infectious when we are satisfied. Like, people want it and they want it bad. Even other generators, even though they have it, they want it. So just taking an inventory and getting some outside perspective can start to really set the foundation of what it means of where you're performing in areas that maybe are surprising to you and where you're performing in areas that maybe you want to let go of. Another instance is, if anybody out there who journals, now I'm a journaler. However, I tend never to go back and read what I wrote. I tend to just leave it in the moment and move on. Part of that is to just kind of release it and let go. But if you are a journaler and you want to go back, kind of think back to some of the instances that maybe you've journaled about. Maybe you journaled about a really high high, or you journaled about a really low low. Can you go back to those instances and start to pick up patterns or start to see things related to that instance and say, oh, I really was satisfied in that respect. And we'll use the generator example. It's what I am, so I know it. Um, or as you're reading through what you said, what was it about that instance that allowed you to feel really satisfied? And the opposite is true. Go back to a really frustrating instance. What was going on in that instance? What about it was frustrating? What felt draining to you? And what have you learned from them? Can you see that pattern in other areas of your life to really start honing in on how might you be working through your borrowed frequency, and how might that be limiting your ability to achieve higher levels of success? Or are you just working completely on the wrong things or in the wrong relationship, or whatever the case may be, that's hindering you from being able to truly reach the level of success, the level of satisfaction, the level of surprise, the level of peace that you're really looking for? And if any of this resonates with you and you want to reach out and you want to have a chat about any of this, please feel free to reach out. I mean, you are a magnetic human being who is here to show the world what you're capable of in a way that no one else can. Only one of you exists. And so this is truly an invitation to the powerful women out there in their 40s or 50s who are tired of overfunctioning, of overworking, of overperforming, and simply want to step into the next chapters of their life refreshed, refined, and ready to attack the world in a brand new way. Happy Thursday, friends. Bye, Melissa. Thanks for joining in.